I have a black dog who once was well fed. I have a black dog who used to be.
We laugh, we cry, we write poetry. The world smiles. Welcome to For the Love of Words, an artist Q&A and performance series filmed here at the beautiful ECAT Studios. Thank you to the Easton Shoveltown Cultural District and the Ames Free Library for their support of poetry and the arts. We have 3 artists for you this evening. We have musician Mike Shea, poet Tammy Nick, and musician Greg Sonnenfeld. Mike Shea is a singer, songwriter, and guitar player who wrote his first song at the age of 20 in Rome, Italy, and continues songwriting to this day. His voice resonates with a deep passion for lyrics, while his sweet-sounding guitar playing seems to effortlessly move with the melody. He's a welcome regular at many southeastern Mass venues, and the most notable influences in Mike's music are Tom Rush, Gordon Lightfoot, John Hammond, Laura Nyro, Jesse Winchester, John Prine, and Jackson Browne. Without further ado, Mr. Mike Shea.
Like Springsteen. Well, this is a song I wrote a number of years ago about returning to one's hometown and finding too much changed utterly. It's called Still True. Well, I've come back to the city I was born in, and I've sauntered down the ruined avenue. It's been years since I've been here, and I no more have the fear that escape is just a dream that can't come true. Yes, I've come back to the backyards of my childhood, and these lean streets that we walked, just me and you. All the gardens are all gone, they seem waiting for a dawn, a time that's fled without a trace or clue. And is anything you told me once still true? Yes, I've come back. City I was raised in, where despite the curse of innocence I grew. Oh, I stumbled and I loved, and I dreamed, turtle doved, into arms that made me happy, made me blue. Yes, I've come back to the halls of adolescence, and the places where we cried, just me and you, and the places where we laughed, dancing free, dancing daft, to a music that would somehow see us through. And is anything you told me once still true? I left to climb the hidden hills of wisdom, to sail the vaulting seas of iron. But in every ancient town, this diamond truth I found. The only one who shaped my heart was you. So I've come back to the city I was lost in. Like a broken-hearted raven till I flew. Oh, I won't be here for long, just the singing of a song to summon up a Holy Ghost or two. Yes, I've come back to your back door with a hymn for that sacred word we shared on Trenu. So far all good gone by in the closing of an eye. Won't you tell me, like the God I thought I knew, is anything you told me once, is anything you told me once, is anything you told me once still true? Thank you. It's called Take No Prisoners. It's a love song of sorts. Madeline dabs some color from her palette. Sketches out the confines of my face. Then she takes her knife and she loads its silver blade, slashes flesh and bone right into space. When she's done, she shows to me my image and accepts my awe with the clear eyes of a saint. Each slash and stroke, she says, is a matter of life or death. I can take no prisoners when I paint. I can take no prisoners when I paint. Lonnie sits for hours at his piano, mining the words and music for a song. His fingers torture over every silver phrase. Then he finally strikes some chords, growls along. When he asks me how it sounds, I tell him edgy, and his smile tells me that I'm much more right than wrong. Each word and note he says is a matter of life or death. I can take no prisoners with my songs. I can take no prisoners with my songs. Well, they say all's fair in love and war, and I know worth fighting for. But as a lover or a fighter, I always fear to trust that my all too human heart can be just. So here we are, my darling, face to face, to see if our love lives or if it dies. We'll marshal our defenses and we'll aim with all our pride. And the sorrow in my voice and in your eyes. When you tell me that you need me, I question how. I guess I need to learn what you're needful of. Oh, life can be ironic, but we don't have to be. If I live this life for you, and you live this life for me, then we'll take no prisoners with our love. We shall take no prisoners when we love.
We are back. My name is Rich Berg. I am one of your hosts. This is John Hogelson, one of your hosts, and we're here with Mike Shea for a little bit of Q&A. And John?
Mike, in Rich's introduction, he mentioned that when you were 20, you were in Rome, Italy, and wrote your first song. How did you end up being in Rome, Italy at 20, and what was the first song you wrote?
Well, I was on a junior year abroad, Loyola University, and it was in October of that year. I'd been listening to a great deal of Bob Dylan, particularly his second album, and I had been given a banjo by my cousin Mike Hashem, and he had taught me a finger-picking pattern and a few chords, and I'd been strumming it for months, and I don't know what it was one night, but I sat down and wrote a song which I believe was called Don't Let Me Forget Her, or something wistful, youthful, and forgettable like that. So,
Something a 20-year-old would write.
something very, very 20-ish. Very 20-ish.
While you were in Rome, is that where your interest, I know you from listening to your work, I know you have an interest in history. Is that where your interest in history started, when you were in Rome, or did it start before or after that?
Actually, my love of history came from my freshman year in high school with a teacher by the name of Brother William Lowney, and we had the ancient Greek and Roman history and up to the Middle Ages. But certainly, you know, there was a great deal of history just traveling around, the opportunities we had. We had every other, you know, again, it's like everything else. You can't appreciate art, you can't appreciate the music of Bob Dylan without knowing the historical context. I mean, you can look at it and the songs can stand for themselves, his poems can stand for themselves, but if you are aware of the reasons for the songs, the milieu of the songs, then you just know so much more.
You had mentioned in a conversation we had some time ago, actually, to me, because we've known each other for a while.
Since high school, yes.
Yeah.
This next song I wrote with my parents in mind. They were married for 37 years until my father passed away. And it's my tribute to the married state. It's called These 30 Years. Her hair is silver and her eyes are blue. Words are kind and her love is true. I've been her laughter and I've been her tears, and she's been my wife these 30 years. Her eyes are soft and her hair is sweet. Her voice is gentle and her touch is deep. Raising our children was her career, and she's been my love these 30 years. Well, if a husband could relive life with all his learning and a brand new wife, one who's pretty, one who's pure, I know again that I'd just choose her. Her eyes are clear and her patience long. Her ears are deep and her faith is strong. She's taught me how to see and hear, and she's been my teacher these 30 years. Well, if one day sorrow comes and we learn too soon that life is done, I'll have our children, I'll have our home, and I'll have her memory as I live alone. She has a mind, wisdom lives. She has a heart that will forgive. She knows my goodness and she knows my fears, 'cause she's been my friend these 30 years. Yes, she knows my goodness, she knows my fears, 'cause she's been my lover, teacher, wife these 30 years. Thank you. Songwriting can certainly be a lot of work. There are things you begin and you put them away because you've reached an impasse, dead alley, cul-de-sac. And then you bring them back. Some of them never come back. On the other hand, sometimes you get extraordinarily lucky. You get an idea and the idea has its logic that is very clear to you, pours out of you, and you sit down and you bang it out, and whatever revision may be facing you in the future, you've got the core of it. And I was very lucky with this song, certainly, and I know later, years later, when the music came to the words I'd written down and would just write, I could not have finished this song without having listened to, in my youth and forever, the songs of Mr. Don McLean and Miss Joni Mitchell. So this is called The Hourglass. It's about a little girl who really loved her grandfather. Grandpa and his big house on the Strand, where she could splash along the shore and build castles in the sand. His rooms were filled with treasures, but the one she loved the best was his crystal flower hourglass on the table by his bed. Sand is time, he taught her, as she turned the glass to pour, and she'd watch the sparkles fall and fill the emptiness once more. And when he'd tuck her in at night, though she really wished to play, long beyond her bedtime, he would smile at her and say, our lives are like the hourglass that circles with our days, that takes our troubles and our cares and spins them all away. So when we're tired and out of sand and empty as a cup, we go to sleep and turn around so we can wake up filled with time again. Then one day in November, she saw her mama cry, and her mama's face grew very still when Trudy asked her why. We need to visit Grandpa. Her voice came soft and kind. We need to visit Grandpa because he's running out of time. So off they went to Grandpa's. When they reached his home, Trudy took the box she'd brought, ran off all alone. But soon she entered Grandpa's room with a gift he'd understand. She placed it gently by his side, a shoebox filled with sand. And she watched the smile on Grandpa's face widen more and more. Oh, the world is such a wondrous place, especially when you're four. And our lives are like the hourglass that circles with our days, takes our troubles and our cares and spins them all away. So when we're tired and out of sand and empty as a cup, we go to sleep and turn around so we can wake up filled with time again. Trudy loved her grandpa. His big house on the Strand, where she could splash along the shore and build castles in the sand. Thank you. I began this set with a song about my old hometown and what it was like to grow up there. And through life, you meet people that kind of hold you together, kind of are the right persons for you at that time in your life. This is a song to one of those persons. It's called Tenderness. There's a tenderness in the evening mist when the sun has failed the sky, and it soothes the wound from the sense of loss, and it cancels that question why. Yes, it cancels that question why. Well, is there any wonder why the rainbow follows rain? Why a love can fill the space made by so much pain? Life affords some solace when the heartache fades away. Wisdom comes as softly as the night that follows day. And there's a tenderness in the way you kiss, and in the quiet that you share. And I long to hide from this darkened world, lost in your white blonde hair, just lost in your white blonde hair. Remember how your dimpled smile just captured me that day. Even when my sorrow comes, your sweetness still remains. Can you know completely all your tender touch can do? Oh, is there any wonder why I'm so in love with you? Yes, is there any wonder Why the winter bows to spring, why the deepest sorrow seeks to lose itself and sing. When my heart was sundered, you held it like your own. So is there any wonder why my healing heart has grown? There's a tenderness in your soft gray eyes that turn blue each time you cry. And there'll be tenderness in the years that pass from the day you say goodbye. From that day you say goodbye. Thank you.
That was Mr. Mike Shea. Our next artist is the poet Tammy Nick. Tammy has a writing and performance style that is straightforward and sincere. This, combined with her natural ability to personalize the plight of others, is one of the reasons she's become highly respected among her peers. Influenced by conscious lyricists from different genres, she covers topics that society doesn't deal with well, or would rather not think about. In her darker poetry, we can find a renewed sense of strength, power, and love. Miss Tammy Nick.
City lights. Bright lights, city lights. I'm soaring high. Midnight skies, 18,000 feet high. 60 miles from destination. Up here, so high. I can't hear the shots sounding or gangs banging. So high, the city lights lie. Soft, beautiful, red, yellow, and white. Mostly yellow, though. The city lights lie. Lying awake below, they yearn for daylight to reveal beauty. My eyes see 18,000 feet high. Below, muffled laughters, babies cry. Eardrums popped, mixed odors, stench lying in the streets, bodies closed and unclosed. City lights lie. Below, no beauty, death. Death reeks the streets. Midnight clouds hide city lights, life stories. Broad daylight reveals odor, reveals hidden truth, city lies. Broad streets, narrow minds can't comprehend life's lies. Big, brown, beautiful eyes, death deep within. Behold, the city streets have told the truth beneath the city lights. 18,000 feet below, death, decay, no life beneath. City life, outsiders looking in, life's a living hell. Don't enter in. City lights don't shine bright in Slumsville. Keep looking in, but don't enter in. 18,000 feet high, 60 miles from destination, destined to enter. Two-toned skin, traditions, generations, a guaranteed entrance. I have touched down, taxiing the runway. I just want to run. Please take me back to the part of the skies, up in the air, where I can look down at the beauty. Look down at the beautiful city lights, wishing to live a life filled with peace, serenity, of the mind, serenity of the midnight summery skies. I see through blurred, watery eyes. And I cry. City lies. The stench looms 0 feet below nothing. That's who they are, living dead. Living dead, living within city limits. Poverty, disparities beneath midnight skies. Health, economics, limited access, no discretionary income. Discreet, or is it? Nothing hidden. It's well known. Just the basic needs unmet. Barriers, broad streets, narrow minds, language, culture, two-toned skinned, secondary, no class, absent from the ballots. Mistrust of those who govern. Past history have etched a permanent sketch, suppressed by city limits. Bright lights, city lights, 18,000 feet, 60 miles from destination, soaring high, looking in, soft, beautiful, red, white, yellow, city lights, they do lie. This poem came to me as I was traveling back from a trip, and the pilot announced that we're 18,000 feet to our destination, looking over the city of Providence. I could see the beautiful lights, but when daylight come, it's completely different from what you see with the beautiful lights. Okay. Mother, mature, meek, and mild, with such wisdom and knowledge, you have molded me a spiritual light that will never grow dim. Open and honest, you have given me unconditional love with open arms, despite all my failures, as do our Heavenly Father. Time will only tell what He holds for us in the future, but whether near or far, you should know I shall never depart, because you have trained me as a child should grow. Hugs, kisses, and I love yous I can't recall, but like my Christian walk, I go by faith, filling my life with words of spiritual food He has done. So have your meals done for my physical stature. Everlasting, engrossed, you are always reading His word, never losing focus of the reason why you rose. Remembering you, I always will, knowing that you have given me the knowledge of knowing God. Thank you.
You didn't discuss which poems you were going to read with either Rich or myself before you did so tonight. And we are, more or less, not quite on the eve of Father's Day, but it's pretty close. And I was really glad to see that those were the poems that you decided to read. Primarily because you have a draft of a manuscript of poems, do you not?
I do.
And once upon a time, we met about 4 or 5 years ago, and I think maybe 3 years ago you gave me a draft of that.
I do.
And I still have it, and I note that your dedication is the following: a father to his daughter, quote, "What is to be must be," close quotes.
Yes.
Could you tell us what that means to you and how that kind of relationship with your dad has influenced not just the poems you read this evening, but the poems you write?
What is to be must be, that quote were the very last words my dad said to me on his hospital bed right before he passed away. And truly it has helped me along life these past few years. I use it to strengthen me. My dad was always a person, like I said earlier, you know, he would just smile no matter what is going on. And he touched so many lives. He is my inspiration and my strength. And I consider him to be the most successful man that I've ever known. And to know that he raised a family of 8 children and so many others. The reason why I consider him to be so successful, because he is a man that never knew how to read and write. And to touch so many lives at my dad's funeral, you would think it was a dignitary that had passed away. He crossed so many barriers, so many lives. He touched so many lives. And I use that to strengthen me now that, you know what, you welcome, everyone is welcome. You mean, your love could go so much further. Your smile can bring so much joy to someone. You know, you smile, someone else will smile. And no matter what our educational level is, as long as we know how to love and care for others, I consider that to be a success.
What kind of work did your dad do?
My dad, he worked in a factory making plastics, you know, and back home, which home we're from Jamaica, we're Jamaicans, and he worked in sugarcane factory back home, and he drove a taxi, and that's how he supported us back home and here in America, you know. He came, got his job working in the factory, and that's what he did until he was laid off right before he passed away.
One of the things that both Rich and I know is that the nature and content of a lot of your poems focuses on the dark side of human experience and is a little bit on the raw side too. Tonight we saw a little more of the sweet Tammy Nick that we don't see too often in the open mic. But
I don't know if we've ever seen that.
I know. But what I really wanted to ask you know exactly what I'm talking about. Yes.
I do.
So what I really wanted to ask you is, what do you channel to write into your poetry the raw feelings of people who are really victims of violent crime, victims of heartbreak through emotional relationships? I mean, many of your poems focus on those people who are, I won't say at wit's end, but who have experienced some really traumatic event. How do you channel that from what is obviously a very sweet and caring and nurturing personality?
The only answer I think I can give to that is, again, going back to love. You can just imagine what someone else is going through, and I can feel their pain because I wish I was able to help that person. That is how I think I can relate to others in my writing as well, because if I don't know you, I hope that somewhere, some along, my word can get out there and help someone.
Many people who hear you for the first time, when you read some of those poems, believe that you're writing something from your own personal experience, and you have to explain to them that that's not true.
Or you're writing about them and they wish you didn't say anything.
Right.
Right?
So where do you get the source? Is it from newspaper stories? Is it from something you see on television? Or perhaps it's from people you yourself interact with?
All of the above.
All of the
above. And
right,
I could just be having a conversation with you, and just a word that you would say was like, I love words. I love words, thanks to my mom, who always said, read, 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 read. You know, so any word can trigger something. There was someone who made the comment once to me, forbidden love. And out of that actually came a short story, just from those 2 words. And I would honestly say, to be honest, I think, or I believe it's just a God-given gift. There's no other way I can explain it.
When I first met you, your very first poem, we're at Poetry in the Village in Rehoboth. Your first poem was Tough straightforward and gutsy. I think you shook the floor, made a few people uncomfortable. Very different than the young lady I spoke to after the venue. The sweet young lady, the hi, how are you? How do you shut it off? This is a difficult thing for a lot of artists. Some artists are great at it, but many aren't. But how do you shut it off, and do you know when to shut it off and to transition back into Tammy in life and then Tammy in writing? Or is it the same?
Not the same. Definitely not the same. Like I said, it goes back to you have your experiences and you get stronger from your experiences. You do not, or I do not let my past, my poems or anything dictate my future. You know, I built its strength, so I would leave it behind and let that strengthen me. So pretty much my writing, I write it, I get it out. You know, whether it's therapy to me or therapy to someone else, I let that stay with you. You can sit on that, you know, and just let go and move on, because no one, well, I would hope, like myself, you know, we're all seeking peace and happiness. And if we sit in despair and sadness, how do we achieve that peace and happiness?
It was the poetry of Miss Tammy Nick. And our next artist is Craig Sonnenfeld. Craig is a singer, songwriter, and guitarist who's performed at festivals, events, and coffee houses in New Jersey, New York, Philadelphia, Cleveland, and throughout New England. His 5 CDs have played on over 100 radio stations in the U.S. and abroad, including WGBH in Boston's folk program. And his music is featured regularly on WVLT in southern New Jersey, and WATD in Marshfield, Mass., and on WOMR in Provincetown, Mass. Craig loves being a part of the arts and music scene, and now we have him here in the studio. Ladies and gentlemen, Craig Sonnenfeld.
Okay, I'd like to do this song of mine. It's called Another Sun Gone Down, and it's kind of a commentary on what's going on with some of our unfortunate youth today, and involved in gangs and drugs, and some of the current events that you read about these days, unfortunately. Never had a chance in hell from the day that he was born. Everyone who touched his life was either desperate or torn. Guns and drugs surviving how you can. That's the way this side of town. But did he have to meet a violent end? Another day, another sun gone down. Time was wasting on the corner as the deal was going down. Someone got his signals crossed, bullets rocked him to the ground. Still don't know why this scene had to be, why the violence is unbound. Another senseless urban tragedy. Another day, another sun gone down. They buried him beneath a pine that at least provided shade. No one came to say a prayer or to throw him a parade. Nothing about him on the evening news, and no headline to be found. But there's really no one to accuse. Another day, another sun gone down. Another day, another sun gone down. Thank you very much. Well, I'd like to do a cover of an old Bob Dylan tune, and Mike was saying before he was influenced a lot by Bob Dylan's second album called Freewheel, and this is from his third album, Times They Are A-Changin', and it's I think it's a beautiful song called One Too Many Mornings. Down the street the dogs are barking and the day is getting dark. As the night comes in a-crawling, the dogs will lose their bark. And the silent night is shattered from the sounds inside my mind. For I'm one too many mornings and 1,000 miles behind. From the crossroads of my doorstep, my eyes, they start to fade. As I turn my head back to the room where my love and I have laid. And gaze down on the street, the sidewalk and the sign. And I'm one too many mornings and 1,000 miles behind. Now it's a restless, hungry feeling that don't do no one no good. With everything I'm a-saying, you can say it just as good. You're right from your side, and I'm right from mine. We're both one too many mornings and 1,000 miles behind. We're both one too many mornings and 1,000 miles behind. This has a slightly risque verse. I hope it's okay, but if not, you can bleep me out. So this one's called, it's a song of mine called Since He Said We're Through. I don't want to love nobody, can't love nobody else but you. Since you said we're through, and I can't be with anybody, can't be with anyone but you. Since you said we're through, no one satisfies me the way you do. No one else can light my barbecue. People say these words don't dignify me, but the sentiment is overdue. I don't want to love nobody, can't love nobody else but you. Since you said we're through, I won't dance with anybody, can't dance with anyone but you. Since you said we're through, and no romance for anybody, no romance for anyone but you. Since you said we're through, I won't put an ad in the newspaper or stand in line in crowded singles bars. Those relations disappear like vapor, and all those people just act like they're from Mars. No, I won't dance with anybody, no romance for anyone but you. Since you said we're through, said we're through, and I'm too shy with everybody, I'm much too shy with everyone but you. Since you said we're through, I prefer to stay in my apartment, doing things I like to do alone. But if I can offer you a small hint, often I'm just waiting by the phone. No, I don't want to love nobody, can't love nobody else but you. Since you said we're through, no, I don't want to love nobody, I don't want to love nobody. No, I don't want to love nobody.
We are back. For those joining us, just joining us, my name is Rich Berg. I am one of your hosts. This is our other host, Mr. John Hogelson, and we are here with musician, singer, songwriter Craig Sonnenfeld. And you're known. You don't mind if I go first, do you?
No.
You're known up and down the seaboard.
Well,
You've been in.
some people know me. So I wouldn't say
You're
I'm
You're well known. You have a lot of material out.
I have a lot of
vast
material.
amount of material. How do you keep doing it? Like, I mean, I'm creative. We're all artists, and we come up with a lot. But 5 CDs, which means you have enough material for probably 10 or 15 that just hasn't gone onto a CD.
Well, I just have a 6th, actually. and-
I rest my case, counselor. Yeah, but tell us about the creative process.
Well, you know, I wrote and performed when I was young, way back when I was a teenager in my early 20s, and then I stopped almost cold turkey for many years, actually at least 2.5 decades.
Really?
And just kind of fell off. I didn't have inspiration anymore. I was trying to develop some careers. I had 3 different careers, all mediocre. And then about 10, 11 years ago, I started to play again. And it's a fear that I will stop again that keeps me writing and have some discipline to try to either write a song a month or learn a cover a month. So I'll keep getting new material. So to answer your question, how do I keep going? It's complete neurotic fear.
That'll do it.
That's probably the same for everyone, but most people won't admit it.
Because I'm afraid that if I let it go and I don't have some discipline, it will fall off again. And I don't want that to happen.
And that age thing might happen, and you might forget.
I wanted to ask
What
you.
was your name?
I wanted to ask you about your influences. I'm going to guess that Bob Dylan was one of your influences simply because in the last 50 years he's probably released 36 albums, and you know exactly the order in which they were released, apparently, as you know,
Yes.
it's 1, 2, 3, and so on. Besides Dylan, who else was an influence on you?
Back then, actually, some of the ones that Mike had mentioned before, Gordon Lightfoot, certainly. There was also Eric Anderson. I love Joni Mitchell, still think she's fantastic. Singers, I would say, I don't obviously try to sing like her, but Linda Ronstadt, I think, is one of the best singers, pop singers ever.
Absolutely fabulous.
And believe it or not, my mother was in Little Theater down in South Jersey, and she was always singing show tunes. So I grew up, really, even as a little kid, listening to her rehearse show tunes. She was in shows like South Pacific and dramas also, but I always enjoyed her singing. So, and my parents used to go see those days Frank Sinatra, of course, and I like him very much too. But as far as writers, Bob Dylan, Eric Anderson, Leonard Cohen, Townes Van Zandt, definitely. I love Willie Nelson. I'm not as old as him, by the way.
He's not as old as he looks either,
He's 82.
but he looks good.
He does look good. So those have been my influences.
Who was it that influenced you when you were coming back into the music? I mean, you say 2.5 decades you were took a hiatus. So who was it at the end of that influenced you to come back?
Believe it or not, it was the Rolling Stones, who I sound nothing like.
Right, I didn't see
but
the resemblance.
I've always been a big Rolling Stones fan, and about 12 years ago they were playing the Garden in Boston. My daughter was about 12, 13 at the time. She wanted to go, so I took her. And I wasn't playing at the time, but I was watching Mick Jagger and Ronnie Wood and Keith Richards, and Mick was playing guitar too.
Without wheelchairs?
Without wheelchairs. And I said, wait, those guys are 10 years older than me, and they're still doing this, and looked like they were having a great time. And I said, maybe it's time to try again, to revisit this. So it was the Rolling Stones.
Interesting, interesting. Now, I know you mentioned Leonard Cohen, and you looked at me as if I might not recognize that name, but I do know who he is very well, actually.
Yeah.
I've had fortunate enough to meet him a couple of times.
Really?
Yes. Which work of his influences you? Because he's got quite a few things out there.
He's got decades of work, and I like all his periods, his early, poetic, more poetic, I would say, when he was just starting to play the guitar, and it was more like poetry recited to some simple kind of
So his early
chords.
stuff.
His early stuff, but I love his brand new stuff too. I saw him in concert a few years ago. He was great. But I particularly like his early stuff,
Okay.
like Suzanne and That's
Sisters
No-
of Mercy,
Sisters
Hey, That's
of-
No Way to Say Goodbye,
Right.
all that stuff.
Right.
Yeah, that's all good stuff.
It's all pretty depressing,
Yeah, that's true too.
but I do like
But
it.
he makes it sound so beautiful.
He does.
And
That's
depressing.
what I like about it. It's very cathartic.
And we will hear more from Craig right now.
He was famous for it, and it's called My Creole Belle. My Creole belle, I love her well. My darling baby, my Creole belle. When stars do shine, I call her mine. My darling baby, my Creole belle. Now I got a house in the country, big old garden in the back, blues on the Victrola. Now what you think of that? Yes, my Creole belle, I love her well. My darling baby, my Creole belle. Yes, my Creole belle, don't you know I love her well? My darling baby, my Creole belle. When stars do shine, I'm gonna call her mine. My darling baby, my Creole belle. When stars do shine, I'm gonna call her mine. My darling baby, my Creole belle. Thank you. Well, I think I'd like to do a song of mine to end with. This is called Everyone Wants to Go to Paradise. And it's kind of a topical song. You'll see what I mean. Well, early in the morning till late at night, It's getting harder to see the light. People just seem to get more cruel. If you point it out, they call you a fool. I don't know where it all will end. Grieving ones, their clothes will rend. World keeps turning, but I don't know just how hard these things will go. And no one wants to pay the price, but everyone wants to go to paradise. Now I don't know, but I've been told that mercy is worth more than gold. You wear your religion upon your sleeve, but if anyone needs your help, you just leave. And politicians play lying games. World is burning and who's to blame? Do you hate your neighbor more than yourself, or do you just envy all of his wealth? No one wants to sacrifice, but everyone wants to go to paradise. Now steal from your brother when you please, if that sets your mind at ease. Pile your bounty up to the sky. It won't help you when you die. And all this as the world still turns, seems like we will never learn. We hold some after death ideal, when right here this green earth is real. And if our hearts weren't cold as ice, we could make this world a paradise. Yes, if our hearts weren't cold as ice, we could make this world a paradise.
That wraps it up at For the Love of Words, artist interviews and performances. If you'd like more information on any of the artists on our program, or if you'd like to be in our studio audience, you can email me at beachchair@verizon.net, and that information will run in the credits at the end of the show. We thank musician Mike Shea, poet Tammy Nick, and musician Craig Sonnenfeld for their performances this evening. We laugh, we cry, we write poetry, the world smiles. For the Love of Words is filmed before a live studio audience at 50 Oliver Street, Northeastern Massachusetts. Thank you.
For my heart, it's too tough. C'est tout, basta, that's all, that's enough. C'est tout, it's French for that's all. Basta, basta, Italian for enough. I can't give you my heart, for my heart, it's too tough. C'est tout, basta, that's all. That's enough.